All right, hey boys and girls, we're going to take a look at the progressive presidents and really look at their domestic policy. Um, Presidents Roosevelt, Taft, and Wilson. So here we go. Now, to start off, President Roosevelt becomes the youngest president at the time when McKinley is assassinated. Okay, now remember, Roosevelt, the only reason he even was pushed into the vice presidency is because political bosses in New York, where he used to be a governor, were like, man, this guy is too hard to control. So why don't we just try to push him out of the state and get him, in Washington? He's vice president. McKinley gets reelected, and then he's going to be assassinated. And now we have the youngest president, a very hard-nosed, aggressive president with Teddy Roosevelt. Okay, now Roosevelt's plan here is called the Square Deal. All right, and really this is really trying to give all Americans a fair shake. Okay, now it's interesting because you think of progressives and they just oh, they're going to go after trusts. Well, Roosevelt really distinguishes between good trusts, which would be trusts that are serving the common good, okay, and bad trusts that the only reason they're around is to make money and to maybe screw the consumer. Okay, so it's important to realize that he doesn't just go in and say you're a monopoly, so you're bad. All right, he's really going to look at what the monopoly does and how it works. Okay, now you're going to see this put into action right away when Roosevelt is going to bring back and use the Sherman Antitrust Act to dissolve J.P. Morgan's company, the Northern Securities Company. And what this company did is it consolidated the three major railroad companies in the West. So basically they controlled from the Great Lakes to the Pacific Ocean. They controlled all the railroads, okay? Which means they could do whatever they wanted with rates, and it wasn't good for consumers. So, Roosevelt's going to push to the Supreme Court in this groundbreaking case to break up this big monopoly. Okay. Also strengthening this, we're seeing acts that were already made and now just getting actually being enforced. Okay. The ICC, really regulating the railroads. We'll see, we had Upton Sinclair in the jungle and all that nasty, bones and, nasty sausages and all that crap we saw. Really pushing for more regulation for food, the Pure Food and Drug Act, the Meat Inspection Act, okay? So, Roosevelt's really kind of going at this in a lot of ways. He's not just coming in with an axe, all right? And it's interesting, in the book pointed out that he really looked at this as this balance between Jefferson and Hamilton, where Jefferson's trying to help out the common man, and you need to be more individualized and have more freedom, which Roosevelt's all about. But then on the other side, Hamilton, who was very involved with the economy, so he's really taking those and saying, we want people to be self-sufficient, but the government should and has a moral obligation to step in when's needed. Okay, there's President Roosevelt, known for his very charismatic speaking style. Speak softly and carry a big stick is his famous line here. But he's definitely one of the more charismatic, energetic, alpha male, top dog presidents. Okay. You could see busting these bad trusts. Okay, you can see squeezing it out. There's Roosevelt in the back, getting a little chuckle. Okay, now there's the trust side, and then there's also the conservation side. Now Roosevelt is an extreme conservationist. Okay, as far as preserving what's there. Now. It's kind of interesting because you think of him as being this conservationist, yet he would go off on these, jungle safari hunting expeditions and, hunt down lions and cheetahs and all this crazy stuff. Now, we're going to see the growth of the, because you think about everything that's out in the West was untouched, basically until the railroads come through. All right. You'll see the first national park set aside, okay, Yellowstone Park. All right, and we'll see the creation of the Sierra Club. John Muir, a conservationist trying to blend this love of nature. It's almost like the transcendentalists, okay? And really, Roosevelt's big thing, and it is kind of interesting, he wasn't 100% like, no, you can't touch the land, but trying to preserve the beauty, but also getting, making sure that it's not economically just destroyed, okay, by the railroad companies, the mining companies, or whatever it is, okay. So you have, for the first time, a president taking an environmentalist stand, all right, and really first time a president's going to go after these bad trusts, all right. There's the Old Faithful geyser out in Wyoming. There he is with John Muir right here, okay, out in Yosemite Valley. All right. So again, he's this avid outdoorsman, hunter, environmentalist. He's kind of this Renaissance man, everything rolled into one. All right. Now, Roosevelt made one of his big mistakes where he wasn't elected the first time, because remember, McKinley was killed, and then he was reelected, all right, in 1904, and then when it comes up, he says, I'm only going to serve these 8 years. He's not going to run again, okay? So basically, Roosevelt handpicks William Howard Taft to be the Republican nominee, okay? Now, most people think he's just going to be this kind of mini Roosevelt, do what Roosevelt wanted him to do, okay? And in some ways, yes, but in other ways, no, and we'll see this split. So Taft comes in, he's very antitrust, okay? Very much, he's going to declare Standard Oil to be in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. He's going to go after some tobacco companies, all right? And really is going to go after these monopolistic trusts. I mean, he breaks up more trusts, than Roosevelt ever did, okay? The big one is the 16th Amendment, okay? And, like I said, if you have a paycheck, if you get paid, you know what the 16th Amendment is, all right? You pay income tax, all right? Now, again, it started a very small percent, only the top people earning over $5,000 a year, again, which isn't a lot. But really, if you think about what progressives are about, they want to lower tariffs, okay? Well, that's where the United States got their money from. I mean, we've seen this since Hamilton. So if you're going to, there's only two ways. You can either cut spending, or raise taxes. You got to figure this out. So, they lower tariffs, but then they create the 16th Amendment to tax income. All right. So it's, again, today, this is usually what all the tax debate is about. That goes all the way back to Taft. All right. We're going to see a split in the Republican Party, and this has to do with this Ballinger-Pinchot affair. Basically, Pinchot is Roosevelt's Secretary of Forestry, very, very hard environmentalist. Okay, when Taft is president, he has this Secretary of Interior, Ballinger, who wants to open up some federal land for some companies to open up. Okay, for economic development. Well, Pinchot says, no, man, you can't do that. Taft is going to side with his cabinet member, fire Pinchot. So basically in the Republican Party, you get this split of conservative Republicans, okay, which are going to side with the president, and then more progressives who are going to side with the conservationist Pinchot. So the split in the Republican Party is really what's going to set it up for the election in 1912, where Woodrow Wilson will win because of that split. All right. Now, in this election, you have four candidates. All right. You have Taft, all right, who gets the nominee for the Republican Party. Roosevelt, who's now running as a progressive party. You're going to have Woodrow Wilson, all right, the first PhD president. He was the president of Princeton College. Okay. And now you get socialist Eugene Debs. Remember back from the Pullman strike. Okay. And you have this whole kind of it's really, they're all pretty progressive, okay? You have probably Debs is going to be the most extreme socialist, wants complete, get rid of the economic system, all right? Roosevelt, and then you have probably Wilson and then Taft as far as how progressive they are. Okay, now there are two big policies here that come out in these debates, as they're campaigning. All right, new freedom. All right, and new nationalism. Okay, now Roosevelt's plan. All right, which is new nationalism. Okay, is really going to push for heavy taxes, all right, more control over businesses and industries, and have really more government control. Okay, where Wilson's New Freedom is trying to have that control, but really give businesses the freedom they need to make money and be competitive. Okay, really trying to encourage small businesses. All right. And again, the big thing with Roosevelt is really pushing those social issues. He's going to be very open on female suffrage, where Wilson is not. The conservation issues, where Roosevelt is very open about, where Wilson is not pushing those issues. Okay, so because of this split, and I'll go back to this. Okay, I mean, you look at this. Where these two combined, I mean, we've seen this before. Basically, it's going to split the electorate and allow Wilson, who only gets 41% of the popular vote, all right, and he'll be considered a minority president. He doesn't. I mean, 60% of the United States doesn't even vote for him. Okay, and it's because of that split between Roosevelt and Taft. All right, now. With Wilson in charge, okay, I mean, he's a Democratic president. Democrats have the Senate. Democrats have the House. He's really going to push to lower tariffs. The Underwood tariff is really going to push back a lot of those tariffs that the McKinley administration was pushing for. All right, the Clayton Antitrust Act. This one is basically going to be what the Sherman Antitrust Act was supposed to be. It's really giving the power to break up those monopolies, and it also exempts unions. It says you can't. Remember, Sherman Antitrust Act was really used to bust up these unions, where the Clayton puts a provision that says no, you can't break up unions under this act. Okay, also we've seen this money issue, gold, silver, and not having enough money in circulation. It's going to create the Federal Reserve System, which now all of your bank notes are Federal Reserve notes. Okay. Sets up a national banking system where you have 12 branches, and this is really a way for the government to control interest rates, to control the money in circulation, and to really have a unified money system. The FTC, all right, which will be set up really as a organization to investigate unfair business practices. Okay. Whether they're undercutting prices or fixing prices or monopolies, okay? So he's really going to expand the role of the federal government, and obviously we'll look at the foreign issues with World War I, okay? But there you have the overview of the progressive presidents, okay? We'll get into World War I next, and I hope that helped. All right, peace out, guys.